Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring sLiDER in our top right corner, playing our blue Terran, and in the bottom left we have eLiTeLegend, our red Terran. We are on Cloud Kingdom, and both players are in Masters. This is a TVT, not much else you need to know, except that I cast this game for, I don't know, 10 minutes, and then I hit the wrong button, and it skipped halfway through. And that totaled my cast. I really need to change that hotkey because it's right by the production tab right now, and that can be a bother. That can be a bother. Cloud Kingdom is not a bother. I love this map. This is a fantastic map because of all the honey doodads in the middle. Kind of reminds me of a honeycomb, as well as all the different pathways up and down the high ground to the low ground, all sorts of different cubby holes for you to abuse, as well as the third that's very exposed but also very quick to reinforce because of the pathway leading directly to the natural. Very cool map, very kind map. I like it a lot. sLiDER's following the traditional build order, just throwing down that supply depot, but he does have a super early SCV out, and it's headed in the wrong direction, and by wrong direction I mean not to the home base of eLiTeLegend. It looks like he's going to be doing some sort of proxy play. It could be just a delayed scout or a misclick. We'll have to watch that later on. eLiTeLegend's actually throwing down a refinery first, and also his supply depot is close to the mineral line, which would mean that it's not going to be incorporated in the wall off over by the ramp. This is probably due to the positioning of the barracks. Sometimes you see people doing this so that they can trick the opponent into thinking that it's going to be a proxy barracks. You scout with your SCV and you see that there's nothing up by the ramp, and your opponent assumes that there's a barracks hidden somewhere on the rest of the map, such as what sLiDER is doing, and then that can, you know, make your opponent panic a little bit, overproduce production of defending units, and allow you to get a stronger economic lead that you can capitalize later on. This is exactly what I'm talking about, though. That throwing down that barracks and the proxy barracks is going to be pretty effective, especially if it's going to be Reapers coming out of it. Sometimes you see Marauders, but that's usually against Protoss. And with the Tech Lab throwing down, I think that narrows it down to Reapers. Usually, if it's going to be 2 racks pressure, you'd see a second racks being built by it at the same time as the initial factory being built behind the mineral line. It looks like the hidden barracks has been scouted by sLiDER with his SCV, but this factory is not being scouted. This factory is going to reposition up on the high ground. I doubt that it's going to do any damage on the low ground because it's pretty safe to assume that the wall is going to be constructed by the time that factory is done and a handful of Hellions are built. The repositioning of the factory can be kind of tricky. You definitely want it in the shadow, but you're not 100% sure where that shadow is going to be because, like I said, eLiTeLegend has his stuff positioned in a weird place so that shadow is actually significantly smaller than what you'd expect. The starport being built up on the high ground too. The SCV comes back for a second look, which is fantastic. At the same time the Reaper is arriving, that SCV was probably just to scout that high ground so that if there were any shenanigans up there, the Reaper wouldn't have to endanger himself by pulling up into the high ground. Speaking of high ground, that bunker is being built on the high ground, and it forces eLiTeLegend to pull absolutely all of his SCVs, which is going to be pretty bad for him because they're going to be taking quite a lot of damage from that Reaper. With it on the low ground, 4 kills already, and that is just bad mojo for him. And even though the bunker has, the SCV building the bunker has gone down because the Marine has actually popped down and is hiding behind that starport, with the Marine on the high ground, focused on that bunker, so that bunker's not going to finish at the same time a second Reaper has arrived so that he can join in with the harassment, so that bunker really doesn't need to have finished. Wow, all the SCVs are being pulled from eLiTeLegend. He doesn't have anything back at home that can defend against this except for a single Marine, which is going to get focused down pretty quickly. Might manage to take down one of the Reapers, especially with them actually targeting down that starport. Unfortunately, the Marine was focusing down the wrong Reaper. 2 Hellions have arrived from sLiDER. The repositioning of the factory has been up on the high ground. Perfectly nailed the location of that factory so that it was very close to the mineral line, but just out of range from the refinery. And it looks like quite a lot of economic damage has been done to both sides. I mean, we're at 8 and 12. Wow. those Hellions are doing quite a lot of damage, and sLiDER's having a hard time controlling his SCVs. They're all bundled up there with only 3 of them remaining. sLiDER has little choice now but to pick up his orbital and escape. At the same time, all of the SCVs from eLiTeLegend has arrived at the wall off and are going to begin to work on that supply depot. The command center being built on the low ground. The SCV is still alive down there, and this command center will finish, and it looks like it'll escape with the life and go in a company with the orbital and maybe the factory that was being built. Yeah, the factory has lifted also, and each and every single one of these unit producing structures of any form are going to be so incredibly important, because really, what does either player have? sLiDER's got two command centers, one orbital and a factory, as well as a barracks that's positioned down on the low ground, constantly producing Reapers. How many Reapers does he have out right now? 5 Reapers to 11 SCVs and 2 Hellions. On the other side of the thing, eLiTeLegend only has one orbital command, a single barracks, and a single factory. But he's got a stronger economy, meaning that his 11 harvesters are definitely going to be able to get him back into this game much faster, even though that second command center does present the possibility that it will transition over to an orbital and drop twice as many mules later on. At the same time, these Reapers will be able to chew through those SCVs. I really think eLiTeLegend's making a bit of a mistake by using them as a human shield. Yes, he needs to address the possibility that these Reaper harass represents, but he's sacrificing every single one of his SCVs for just minimal gain against these Reapers. Now all of them have gone down for the cost of 2 Reapers. All the Reapers that remain are in pretty low health, but so is the Hellion, and that Hellion's not going to be able to suicide into that ball without dying very quickly, and at most taking out one of the Reapers. Even if he had a straight shot on all of them, I don't think he'll get 2 shots off against all 3 of these Reapers. Oh wow, he did get a lucky shot off on one of them, and it just happened to be the super weak one that goes down from a single shot. But with the other one having 17 health and 15 health, it'll take 2 shots to take them down, and I don't think that Hellion has another one in him. 3 to 4 supply, fantastic. The first orbital lands, the second command center immediately transitions into an orbital command. Twice as many mules, definitely helpful. Barracks looks like it's going to be switching back to the tech lab. There is no gas for sLiDER to use to produce any more Reapers, but it's possible that he'll start mining that gas sooner or later. Orbital from eLiTeLegend has made it to the natural of sLiDER and has thrown down 3 mules, so his economy is not going to be in that bad of a shape, except once those mules wears off. He doesn't have a lot of SCVs to continue that economy. He is producing them as fast as possible, and it looks like he's going to be getting on top of gas again too. I think he needs to focus more on minerals, focus more on catching up to those to the orbital command count that sLiDER has the advantage on. The factory from sLiDER repositioning down by the barracks maybe is going to be taking advantage of that tech lab later on, but again, the gas income of both of them is so paltry that I don't think we're going to be seeing many high-tech units anytime soon. Second Hellion is out on the field, affording a little bit more protection for eLiTeLegend. He's got to be stressing about the possibility of more Reapers out on the field, just with 2 right now. Another Marine, and it looks like a Marauder being built from sLiDER. I wonder what he's going to use that for. Marauders can be pretty tough. I mean, 125 health against those Hellions, and I don't believe it counts light, do they? No, they have 1 armor. So, going to be very resilient against these Hellions, and that's basically the only damaging units that eLiTeLegend has out right now. He is trying to catch up on supplies right now. Supply blocked. Definitely doesn't want to fall behind. Wow, a starport is taking advantage of the tech lab from eLiTeLegend. Cool play here. He's going. Oh no! Wait, he's within range of that refinery, so that starport is totally scouted, which means that Banshees, which is probably the stuff that he's going to be building. There goes the first Banshee. Probably going to get cloaked too, but that's within range of that refinery. I don't know if eLiTeLegend is aware of that. Even if he is, you know, what are you going to do? That tech lab is within range of the refinery. You can't move the tech lab, can't move the refinery. You maybe could take out the refinery, but his Hellion right now is moving around in the rest of the map. Unfortunately, due to the position of the refinery and the tech lab, the missile turret will be built, as well as the bunker, and it looks like he's switching over to production of Marines rather than the anti-ground Marauder. So he's going to have his work cut out for him. eLiTeLegend is going to have to work very hard to make this Banshee cost effective, especially with a super expensive cloak currently being researched. Oh man, poor Banshee. He could have absolutely just swung this game around in the opposite direction if he hit with cloak, because you know that these orbital commands are going to be expending their energy as fast as they can get them, so that they can get back into this the economy of the game. Unfortunately, with it scouted, the detection's already up, so the lack of energy is not going to be a big deal at all. And we can see that the harvester count is actually heavily in the favor of sLiDER. with him having pretty much twice as many workers out on the field. That missile turret is going to make this Banshee's day very, very bad. I have to admit that Banshee's going to get off a good scout, though. He's going to see the armory being built as well as the factory. Maybe we're going to see some Thors out on the field later on. Thors can be incredibly cost-effective against this matchup. 1, 2, 3 volleys from the missile turret, hitting that Banshee, knocking it down to a little bit less than half health. Like I was saying, Thors, though, they can take quite a lot of damage. I mean, they have 400 health, and they're mechanical, meaning that they can be repaired by mules and SCVs, making them just so hard to kill. They're like roaches, but to the 10th scale. And in these low econ games, Thors can really represent a force that's difficult for the opponent to crush, because it's so hard to kill him. Even if you score a lot of damage, you know, like this Banshee's taking 20 damage, and he's going to have to go home in order to get repaired, unless eLiTeLegend decides to throw out a mule. But no, this scan goes down. No stem on these Marines, so they can't chase down that Banshee, and it looks like that Banshee's going to have to limp home with just 2 health. Same time, the Marines return to that bunker, again surrounded by all these missile turrets. It looks like there was a sweet spot right here for the Banshee to hit maybe a couple of these SCVs, but unfortunately the Banshee's getting repaired. Banshee's getting repaired. It looks like he did drop a mule. Those mules represent quite a lot of minerals that eLiTeLegend really needs right now. I mean, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel. sLiDER, though, is rolling in it, and eLiTeLegend needs to catch up as far as bases are concerned. Just 1 orbital against 2 is not a good position for him to be in right now. It's 15 to 30, though. It's going to be a hard pit for him to dig out of. It looks like +1 vehicle plating as well as 1 Thor on the way for sLiDER. It is stuck in this little cubby hole, though. It looks like the barracks has to lift off in order for it to get out. But that Thor's not the best anti-air weapons, especially against Banshees. Banshees represent quite a lot of DPS, and because of that, they can actually focus down Thors pretty quickly. But anything on the ground will die very, very fast from that Thor. And I still think it's a very good decision to have them out, even though they do not minimal damage, but less damage than you'd expect from a bundle of equal minerals from a Marine. Good scan there. That scan actually is really good for eLiTeLegend, because it costs quite a lot of minerals. And this one Banshee that cloaked only had enough energy to remain cloaked for a couple of seconds. So that cloak forced a scan that cost a lot of energy from sLiDER, so not a bad play by Legend, especially because he pulled back and only took minimal damage to his Banshee, forcing a cancel on one of those missile turrets. The detection that's spread around by those missile turrets really is going to limit the amount of damage those Banshees can do, because, I mean, look at how many missile turrets we have down by this orbital command. He's surrounded by 4 of them. Really nowhere to go. One Banshee goes down because, like I said, 3 shots from a missile turret happens so very, very fast, and it's half the health of that Banshee. This Thor getting repaired by an SCV, and really it just shows you, I mean, that Thor took so many volleys from those Banshees, but it's still staying alive. It looks like it will get focused down. There goes the scan, another 300 minerals there. But with 2 Banshees on the field raining down fire, that Thor does go down. Did succeed in taking down a Hellion, though, as well as doing just a little bit of damage to those Banshees. This is tight. This is really, really tight. I think sLiDER has this well in hand, though. I mean, he's got 2 bases. He's got a 3rd being built. The orbital will be coming along shortly, as well as the anti-air capabilities afforded by Marines. Wow, Raven already added into the mix, so that we have portable detection. Doesn't have to waste any more money on scans. And now the slight advantage that Legend had in the form of harassment for those Banshees is now he's completely on the other foot. He's being pushed back. This Thor, accompanied by some anti-air Marines, are really going to have no issue in chewing up anything that eLiTeLegend can field right now. He does have 3 barracks on the way, as well as 2 siege tanks already in siege mode, so that's quite a lot of splash damage. And these Marines do not have medevacs supporting them. They do not have anything supporting them, no combat shield or anything, so they're going to get chewed up very quickly. Leading with the Thor, a very good idea, so that they can absorb quite a lot of damage. 3 SCVs accompany that Thor, so that when it does take damage, it can get back up into higher health in short order. But remember, that splash damage is also hitting those Marines, even if they're not the target of that fire. Thor falls very quickly. 2 siege tanks up on the high ground, accompanied by the 3 Banshees. You can just see that sheer amount of DPS. That single Thor will have to be very, very careful, because the Raven was retreating there and he did not have detection. 2 siege tanks being repaired. Unfortunately, the Thor arrives and is going to succeed in taking them down, dropping a mule to actually repair that Thor, but that mule does not go to work on that Thor in time, and it looks like it goes down, but costs the life of one of those Banshees as well as all those siege tanks, and these 2 Banshees are in very, very low health indeed. Looks like they're going to get repaired back up. At the same time, the orbital command being warped in, or morphed in, or transformed into for eLiTeLegend up on the main where sLiDER used to be, is going to get saturated, so maybe that we'll see the economy begin to equalize. Still 27 over 50, still pretty much twice as many SCVs for sLiDER. sLiDER also building 2 more starports up on the high ground, as well as having a starport on the low ground producing Vikings anti-air against those Banshees. Again, I don't think those Banshees are going to be too much of a problem. Already 2 Thors out, or 2 Vikings out, accompanied by a Raven. Definitely enough to take out these 2. Oh, but what is this? A medevac leaving the base of eLiTeLegend with a siege tank accompanied by 4 Marines. This could represent quite a lot of dead SCVs as long as it makes its way. It looks like, I'm looking at the mini-map, it looks like it's heading down into the bottom left corner. It's going to be very difficult for it to drop this 3rd, just because the 3rd's so well protected by all these missile turrets, as well as that's where the majority of the Thors and Vikings are coming from. But again, there's so many missile turrets up here too. They'll probably have to drop far away and then just walk into it, and I don't think that medevac's going to be able to repair too much. That medevac did fly directly over the missile turret, but I don't think sLiDER noticed it. He did notice now, because he's got a siege tank in his base focusing down a supply depot. The Marine and siege tank go to town. Quite a lot of medevacs are going down. We can see that the worker skill tab is just, it doesn't tell you anything because it's super high. However, we were at twice as many harvesters in the favor of sLiDER, and now we're down to 37 over 50. So it looks like he took out 10, maybe a little bit more in that drop. So not a bad play at all. Quite a lot of Vikings are out on the field, though, so I don't think that medevac is going to be returning home anytime soon. And I think the Banshees are going to have to be very wary of that. Speaking of Banshees, sLiDER's actually making his own Banshee. Where is he making the Banshee? From up here, so many tech labs on these starports, and with a fusion core on the way, it looks like we're going to be dealing with battle cruisers in short order. Another refinery being added onto the mix, and that 4th has been saturated fully with an orbital command. Really high economy. sLiDER is just looking absolutely in top drawer. He's got a very commanding lead, and I think Legend is going to be in for a world of hurt whenever sLiDER decides to move out. So many Thors. It does represent quite a lot of anti-air, though. A lot of supply has been wasted on this anti-air. 5 Vikings are going to have to spend 1 or 2 volleys on these Banshees, and then they're going to just get picked apart by those Marines. If these siege tanks can succeed in taking down all the Thors and Hellions that are currently fielded by sLiDER, and he has a command of the ground control, he doesn't really care if there's Vikings in the air, though these Banshees could represent quite a lot of damage potential. A 4th base being grabbed by sLiDER at the same time. It looks like he's going to be pushing out, taking a little bit more of that map control. 2 battle cruisers on the way, as well as the Yamato cannon, and the Day 9 fusion core dance goes to town. At the same time, eLiTeLegend, who's not very far on, not far behind on supply. He's also getting that the combat shield upgrade for his Marines, supported by a hearty plethora of tanks, as well as a Raven of his own. So this battle could really hinge on positioning. If he can trick sLiDER into walking into his siege line, and his Marines can take out all the Banshees before they do too much damage, and those Thors can go down before they wade in and decimate that siege line, this could definitely swing in the favor of Legend. This is definitely looking tense. A little bit of a scout by one of the cloaked Banshees, and it looks like the Marines are actually pushing forward, probably to bait those Hellions back into the siege tank line. That's exactly what they do. Unfortunately, only a single siege tank can support these Marine Ball, but the Marine Ball is all doing its damage. The entire ground force from sLiDER has been decimated, but there is absolutely nothing in the air left to answer these BCs, which are just now popping. We can see 3 more are on the production tab. All the Thors have gone down, but now there is 0 anti-air for eLiTeLegend. There's nothing to answer back to these battle cruisers, and multiple battle cruisers are joining into this fray. Handful of Marines are not enough to hold back this force, and we don't see any add-ons except for a single reactor on one of those barracks. Another barracks up on the high ground. No stim just yet, but now with 3 battle cruisers in this attack group accompanied by some Ravens, these battlecruisers are going to be just absolutely rape this marine ball. They're going to fall so very, very quickly. All the Hellions go down very shortly, but there goes the stem. It's not enough. I did not know he got stem. I don't think it's going to be enough to take down all these battlecruisers. There goes one, but they just do so much damage against these Marines, and they have so much armor, and the Marines are not upgraded in the regard of attack, I don't think. They're doing quite a bit of damage, though. It looks like that second one almost is going to go down, but that's the entire attacking force of eLiTeLegend are these Marines. They're going to be accompanied by SCVs in this last attack, but what are they going to do? A couple of mules being dropped off. I don't think they're man or mules. I think they're just to ensure that that battlecruiser with 18 kills survives long enough to come back. Unfortunately, the SCVs have other plans for those mules, and the battlecruisers have other plans for the SCVs. There goes the Yamato cannon on the starport. I think that might be me. I don't know. Oh, you gotta save those Yamato cannons. Oh man, this is definitely a good game, and it was a fantastic game, guys. Really top drawer. Repositioning from one base to the other is so difficult, and managing the control from eLiTeLegend on that Hellion with those SCVs. I still think it was a mistake to sacrifice all those SCVs, but he definitely made it work. Crushing those 5 Reapers down to 2 very weak Reapers made it so that he had the time to get his economy up and actually mount the defense against sLiDER. sLiDER, you had an advantage. You had those 2 orbitals when you repositioned, and you capitalized on it. Great play there. Definitely a good call not to play greedy. Go for the defensive play of getting out those Thors, which we know are just so cost effective. They're so fantastic. Keeping them alive, and also using the infrastructure that you left behind, that refinery, to scout the tech lab, to scout the Banshees that were coming out, allowed you to get the defenses up necessary to hold off the Cloak Banshee play. Great. Just fantastic. If you guys have a game that's half as good as this one, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.